Welcome back to What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur. I'm Vincent Lanci, speaker and author of the book Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption. Want to know what it's really like to be an entrepreneur? Well, you came to the right place. Whether you're already an entrepreneur or looking to start your journey tomorrow, or just someone who needs a little extra motivation to get through the day, this is the perfect podcast for you. This is the place where you will learn exactly what it's like in the world of entrepreneurship and hear authentic stories of entrepreneurs grinding on each episode. My goal for this podcast is to help you, the listeners, realize that giving up is never an option. If you missed the last episode, be sure to download it after you tune in today. Before I introduce my guest, I'll share another entrepreneurial story to inspire you all. This one's on Jean Foley from an article I read over in Inc. I think it's going to resonate with a lot of you. When Foley tied the knot, her mom spent $500 on two ill-fitting tuxedos for her brothers to wear only one time at the wedding ceremony. She thought that was a lot of money for only one wear, so what'd she do? She didn't just talk about it, she took some action. She launched a company called the Groomsman Suit with her childhood best friend, Diana Graz. This partnership was very strategic as Graz was the graduate of Sloan School of Management. The Groomsman Suit is a startup company that is a direct-to-consumer business model which sells tuxedos for less than $200, which is considerably less than that $500 fee, which still might be on the cheaper side. This company even offers returns and exchanges free of charge and ships new items before the old ones even receive back. Elena, what'd you like about that entrepreneurial story?
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's something very similar to a lot of us where they saw a problem and they attacked it. I think it's a great time for you to preview your story, Elena, and let's touch on what you're working on today.
Yes. First, thank you so much for having me. And I wanted to say for me, it didn't start off as a need. I didn't look at my business as a need. I started off as what is it that I love?
Love it.
And that is what moves me and inspires me. I have to be inspired every day and feel really good about myself and what I share with others in order for me to do what I do. So I never looked at my business as from a money perspective, because that was never what moved me. But making a difference in the world does. And that is inspiring. So I came from a background of a pharmacist and recognize how we're actually living in a major epidemic at the moment, how over-medicated people are, and the rise of chronic conditions such as diabetes, cancer, autoimmune diseases are on the rise. And there's really not many solutions right now that are available to people. So I felt that there is a need to educate as many people as possible. For me, it's millions and billions, that we all have the ability to heal ourselves. And it's important to understand how our bodies work in order to eliminate chronic conditions that we're suffering with, or perhaps those that we know who are suffering as well.
Absolutely. Elena is a very, very successful woman. She recently came out with this book. Let's give a little more about you, Elena. Give our listeners more about your business model. You're an entrepreneur. Why are you on this show? Let's hear it.
Okay. I published a book last year. I felt the need that it was time to share my message and inspire people to look within, to give as many tools as possible for each and every person to be able to heal themselves. So it's not that the traditional and functional medicine doesn't work. It does in acute cases, but it's important for those that are suffering, and not only suffering, but to prevent illness. It's important to understand how the holistic system works. So therefore, my brand is holistic. So I published a book. I've been teaching all over the world. I launched an online program, actually a couple of online programs. One is an 8-week online course, which also guides people on how to do all those things step by step.
Yeah, I'm really excited for everybody to jump into your story today. Each episode, Elena, I do something called the Big Five. My guest and I go over these 5 questions to help you, the listeners, learn what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. You ready to go?
Yes.
Great. So first question I start out with every episode is, when did you realize that you weren't happy with what you were doing, or that you just needed to change to kind of be that entrepreneur? We touched on you were a little bit of a pharmacist. You had some past. What was that moment, if you could describe it for everybody, you wanted to be that entrepreneur?
Yes, I think, my whole life, since I can remember as a child, I was always interested in medicine. I always felt that medicine holds the key to helping people feel better. My nature is to help as many people as possible. But when I became part of this world of medicine, I recognized, wow, this is not what I actually signed up for. And it wasn't until 2007 that my vision changed, and I became even more inspired and ignited from within to make a difference. And I recognized that actually I'm going to change my career path. And that's when I decided to leave the pharmacy world and begin my own practice and my new business.
What would you say one or two of the more difficult parts of being an entrepreneur are? I know we got a lot, but what are two hard ones for you?
In the beginning, of course, it was resistance that came from my family. They thought that I actually lost my mind. How could I leave my career, all this education that I put in, and going to do what? Energy medicine? What is that? So it seemed, so I felt like I was going against resistance in a big way, but in a way it also made me stronger, because it made me absolutely certain that what I'm doing is, I love it, and I would choose it over and over and over again. And the second thing that I realized over the years, of course, is there's no such thing as failure, but it's important to always reinvent yourself and stay ahead of, I would say, the bigger curve. And that's important, and not bring yourself down based on, oh, today, is not the right day. It's not how I wanted things to come out. The biggest thing that I realized over the years, everything works as a domino effect, which I didn't realize until, I would say, the last couple of years. Because it's, you're always, for me, I've always had my vision and my passion and my love, but I wanted to do, let's say, certain things 10 years ago. But then I realized what I want and where I am, sometimes you need the smaller steps to get to your bigger vision. And it's having patience with yourself is very important.
Couldn't agree more. It's something that's a lot easier said than done, is for the patience. And something as simple as my book, I thought would be a 6-month process, turns into 4 years and a little more. Just hours and hours of writing that all about it wouldn't have been able to set me up. But the next question I ask is, what is one of your greatest failures and what did it teach you? I love how you described that. And it's kind of why I chose the word failures, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't look at that word as that. It's more of a learning thing. What is that moment that you look back on that helped shape you, kind of sticks with you, that you would have kind of changed?
Yeah, again, I don't look at things as failures, but I could say that there's things that come up as bumps on the road. And those bumps are here to kind of give us a moment to pause and reevaluate the bigger picture of what we're doing, or what I was doing, and perhaps see how it can be polished like a diamond, right? It takes time to polish. And I would say I'm still polishing my diamond, and I don't think I will ever stop. And as an example would be, for me, learning to also work with other people and recognizing I'm not perfect at everything. I'm really good at what I do, but there are people that I need expertise from. And therefore, it would be like an editor that's helping me edit my writing, or my graphics person who's amazing and is able to implement all those things. So there's people in our journey that are here to support us, and it's important to also know that it's time to get help.
Absolutely. I think it's important to recognize you just can't be great at everything. You can be good at a couple of real good things, but to seek advice and to seek help, it's great to learn, because I'm a firm believer in the learning never stops unless you want it to. It doesn't have to be directly with a textbook, but it can be indirect. So
yes, and experience, I would say, is our greatest teacher. If you don't take the time to experience something and to take action, just reading something and having it in your mind will never make you good at what it is that you want to do. It's important to have those experiences.
Yeah, the experience, just so you can directly relate the firsthand knowledge. For me, it always was, if I'm out in the field doing something, I pick up on it way quicker than me just reading the book. It's just two different learnings.
Yes.
Yeah, one's happening and one's not. But if you could choose to have a conversation, Elena, and learn from any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who are we picking? What are we talking about?
Wow. Okay. Well, there's actually two people who I admire and really respect in my field of work, but I would say they are the pioneers. So it will be two people that I will be meeting later this year. It's Greg Braden and Dr. Bruce Lipton. So those are the two people. I cannot wait to sit in the room and talk to them about consciousness, about humanity, about where everything is shifting and moving. And I would say in a very different way, I'd love to talk to Elon Musk too, because I'd like to pick his brain.
Wouldn't we all? I had someone on this show earlier. They showed Elon Musk, and they told me he's already planning some space exploration, and he's doing that whole side thing. But can we touch on those two individuals in your practice field? Let's shed some light on them for our listeners who aren't as familiar.
Sure. Dr. Bruce Lipton is just one of, to me, the most beautiful human beings that I feel and I resonate with. He's a pioneer in the field of epigenetics.
Okay.
And he used to be a professor in medical schools for many, many years. And he left that field. And what is the science of epigenetics? Basically, we all have a blueprint of our genes, and it's through the environment that our genes get turned on or off. So let's say in your family you have diabetes. Does it mean that you are going to also have diabetes? Absolutely not, because the environment is what influences the genes. And what is that environment? It's your thoughts and your emotions, right? So it's, again, if you inherit your belief systems and you live your life on an autopilot like your parents, your grandparents did, you never question your belief systems, most likely you will end up with the same conditions as all of the other ancestors that you've had.
Correct.
So the science of epigenetics is really about becoming a more conscious human being and recognizing that every experience that we have in our life is a choice. So we're here co-creating the reality we're living in at the moment. So therefore, Bruce Lipton is one of my favorite human beings. He has also a couple of incredible books that I read that actually influenced the way that I perceive and I do my work. And he also endorsed my book.
Wow.
Yes.
Good for you, Elena.
Yes, thank you.
Hard work always paying off for sure. And who was the second individual?
So Greg Braden is an engineer, a scientist, a researcher. He has done an incredible amount. He's a historian as well. He's done so many things. But one of the latest books that I'm reading is called The God Code, which I find fascinating. I don't know how many people have read it, but basically he studied the genes and he wanted to understand who designed us? Who are we? Are we living in a simulated reality or not? And what was fascinating about his findings, which are all research-based, is he says that basically every gene begins with the eternal God is in your body. And he says that it's very interesting. It's written, right? So he actually took the periodic table of elements. It's periodic table of elements, and he correlated it to Hebrew language and some other things. So it's a really interesting way that he put it all together, which I love his mind. And basically he says that we were created by someone, right? And who is that someone? So just like any artist in the world that paints, they leave a signature. So we all have a signature in our genome, and that signature is the divine. So he inspires me to also dig deeper, bigger, and look at how we can impact and influence humanity in a beautiful way, to awaken all and recognize that every human being is divine. Every human being carries the God within. So that means we are absolutely responsible for co-creating the reality, again, that we're living in.
That's so amazing. I know everybody listening is going to pick up on that insight too, because part of my mission with this podcast is obviously to inspire entrepreneurs through our successes, our failures, and stories, but also to diversify the guests I bring in. I have you with the holistic, and I have some people. I had a mobile gas station. I have some with fitness. I try to bring in everything to give the listeners that value, so I'm so glad you can make it. But now I know about your big projects you're working on. I'd love to share them. Where do you see these entrepreneurial endeavors? I know you have so much in the works. 1 year from today and 5 years today. Let's start with 1 year. What are we seeing out of Elena Bensonoff?
So 1 year, I usually don't like to make 5-year plans, and I like to go with the flow. my flow and the divine flow. So this year for me is exciting because I just applied for a TED Talk. So I'm hoping I get into that.
Yes.
That's to be announced, the TED Talk. I was just asked to teach at Mind Valley University this summer in Amsterdam. I'm really excited about that. And in June, I will be teaching at Omega Institute. So this is actually my dreams. As I mentioned before, everything is a domino effect. And sometimes it takes baby steps and patience to create the massive shifts. So this year for me is going on a big stage to impact on a global scale, make people realize how powerful each and every one of us truly is. And all the answers we seek are within. So really, that's for this year. Moving forward, of course, I'd love to sell as many online courses as possible that I have, because they're extremely helpful and powerful. And teaching is really something that I love doing and inspiring.
Absolutely, Elena. I mean, you've been doing so much teaching and speaking, and now that my listeners can help learn your brand a little more, I'm sure they'll be right behind me. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I know our listeners are going to see all the value in our episode today. I learned how to describe the difficult parts of being an entrepreneur, because I know that's going to resonate with everybody. Kind of in the beginning, a lot of people's families and parents especially would say, "You're not signing a 9 to 5. What are you doing?" Wasn't that, so resonate. But it's time for the last word, Elena. Is there something you want to share with our listeners we didn't get to touch on today?
Well, my other big project, the consciousness.
Yeah.
And this is, again, the work that I've been inspired by Dr. Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, and another person that really inspired me is Dr. Hawkins, who wrote the book Power versus Force. So I took his project and now I'm making it into much bigger project. So my vision is to reveal to humanity what makes up our three-dimensional reality from all kinds of systems, because I feel it's important for people to understand the level of consciousness that we all have. And it's not about right or wrong, but it's really about where we choose to be. So if you choose to be in anger today, that's your choice. It's not about being the victim, right? If you choose to be in a state of love, that's a beautiful place to be too. So
love that. Do we have a release date for the tentative date for this?
I don't know yet. Because it's a huge project so far. My partner.
Thinking 2020 though? 2020 or 2021?
End of 2020, most likely 2021.
Okay.
So far, we've read up to around 5,000 different systems.
Wow.
Yes. This is going to be very
me tired
interesting.
Just hearing about it. Yeah. So we'll be on the lookout. I know all of your information. Can you mind sharing your social media website, ways for our listeners to follow your endeavors, request your services, and they can follow up on this project that we're all so excited for?
Yes, thank you. So my website is www.wholistic.com. Holistic is WHOLASTIC. And then LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram is Wholistic Inc. INC.
Great. Everybody be sure to check out those handles. Remember, you can check out the show on Instagram and Facebook at Your Favorite Morning Podcast, and on Twitter at Podcasts by Lanci. My handles are at Vincent A. Lanci on all that social media and YouTube, and my website is vincentalanci.com. Be sure to check out my book, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, on Amazon now, but be sure to DM me or email me. I want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed today's episode, please continue listening and rate what it's really like to be an entrepreneur 5 stars. I work very hard to find value-delivering stories for you on each episode. And as always, I'll follow the last word with a quote that inspired me, and I know it will for you too. It's simple. Ready? Little things make big days. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next episode of What It's Really Like to Be an Entrepreneur.